doing something or else you're gonna be finding another job.
God, I don't know what I'm talking about, huh? It's not my first convertible, you know.
All the parts we ordered, nobody can find where the they put them.
Why's everything got to be an attitude?
It's $1,000. Dude, you know what? I need it for two things. There's a slim chance that it may get ugly.
It's shiny, it's pretty.
It's always about you and your toys, right? Close the door. I closing the door. Close the door. It's 60 degrees. Get that stinking cigarette out of here. It's 60 degrees out.
They got stinking
I can't reach the door, it's too high.
Blades Rod Shop was started actually back in the 60s when I was born into the sport of street rodding. My family, started by my father obviously, was a big intricate part of the idea behind Blade Speed Shop. He started us in street rodding back in the 60s with my two brothers and my sister and my mother. And we basically traveled the country in a street rod, and that's what our summers were all about. So as I got older and got back into the sport, it actually started out as a hobby. And we turned around and opened up Blade Speed Shop, a building I had purchased. And after my father retiring from being a policeman for 32 years, we kind of found him a hobby that he could actually do. And it actually evolved from a hobby into a business. Blades is a full service rod shop. Not only do we have the fabrication shop where we build the cars, but we also have a body shop, trim shop, and basically can build a car from the ground up. So for a customer looking to have a car built, or we build our own spec cars here. We've currently built in the last 2 years of existence approximately 7 cars. So to get started, we currently are working on 3 customer cars and have 15 of our own projects currently going on. In addition to the rod shop and all the facets of that, as I indicated before, we now currently have a full service speed shop. We offer parts for trucks, tuners, straight rods, muscle cars, hot rods, anything with wheels on it, we can get you the parts for. So it is called Blade Speed Shop SoCal East. The reason for the SoCal East, we currently carry a SoCal franchise. We acquired that franchise approximately 6 months ago, and it's worked out very well. SoCal has a great name in the industry as far as street rod parts. They supply primarily 29 or Model A to 32 Model B Ford parts. That's been their focus. In addition to that line, we also carry 3,000 different vendor lines, which can obviously suffice the needs of our clients. In addition to the parts lines that we carry, we also have a apparel line that is really second to none here on the East Coast. Not only do we supply or sell SoCal apparel, but we also carry the Lucky 13, Johnny Suede lines, and several other ones that obviously are big in the sport. So.
One of the great things that we have going for us here at our facility is the fact that we've developed a sort of a production wheel, if you would say. We bring our cars in and do the tear down of them here and all the metal work in our own fabricating shop. Once that work is complete here, we move it to the next segment, which is our body shop, where it goes through the paint process and the reassembly of the car. Then from that, at that point, we bring the car back over to the back side of our building, where we also now have our own in-house trim and upholstery shop, where they do all the convertible tops, all the carpet, the covering of the seats, the whole interior is all done. So now that we produce a car here at Blades, the entire car is produced on site here from Blades. We start every Wednesday morning. We start our midweek meeting. We sit down at a table upstairs and we have what we call a build sheet for each project. That build sheet includes timelines, materials, who's going to do what, who's assigned to what, and the timelines that go along with building that car. Along with building that car in those deadlines, sometimes you have deadlines that don't get met. That launches us into a small crisis here and there, as you'll see throughout the show, that when you don't meet deadlines, it makes for long hours and extra work and a flat spot in our production wheel. Our goal is to keep our production wheel turning at all times without any flat spots. Sometimes it's just hard to meet.
Unfortunately, as you may well know, building your own car, there are certain delays that are unforeseeable. Some that are foreseeable, unfortunately, but we turn around and try to stick to it, adhere to the schedules as great as possible.
Alright guys, welcome to this week's tech segment. This week we're going to show you how to split these rear wishbones on this 47 Ford convertible that we've been working on here. The reason we got to do this obviously is the automatic transmission. You used to have this old torque tube in here attached directly to the rear end, wishbone attached to this tab right here. Now we've come up with a product which includes these custom built brackets. You get SoCal Speed rod end, Bush rod end, weld-in bung, and a template, plywood template to bend your wishbones to. Now you're going to take the wishbones off, bend these wishbones to match the template, cut these rod ends off, weld these new bungs in, thread these in. They simply bolt into these new plates that bolt to the frame. Alright guys, this is the finished product here with the little pieces that I showed you before. You have your weld-in bung that you weld into the end of the original wishbone that you've cut off. And then we have our SoCal polished Bush rod end that threads in there for full adjustability, and it all bolts into our custom-made brackets. All it requires is 4 holes drilled and some simple bending. You guys are down the road. All right, this is the conversion kit. This is what eliminates that old heavy steel tube that I was showing you, and it's pretty simple. It bolts right on there, holds the seal. The yoke slides on. There's a pin that retains it all, and it's set and ready for a drive shaft. All right, so that's it for this week's tech segment, guys. I hope this eliminated some of the confusion and questions, and I hope we get you out on the road sooner.
Okay, good morning. Obviously, I want to welcome you all here. The first day of work. Kind of did this in a cruise so that we could get everybody on the same page so that going forward we can kind of build some team effort here. Blades has always been about family and team, and we've obviously had some success over the short period of time we've been here. What we're looking to do is build more of a team. Some of the things I want to talk about is just basically why you're here. Each of you, with the exception of maybe one of you, doesn't have any experience at all in this industry. And we want it that way. We want it that way so that you kind of learn from how we do things instead of bringing bad habits in from other companies and having that impact how we build cars. So. It wasn't because of your experience, it was because of the education you just received, most of you from Wyotech, and the enthusiasm you showed when you went through the interview process. So it's important you understand that. Most of you probably did an interview with another rod shop to this degree. There may have been some companies that were out there that you interviewed with that did some type of automotive restoration, but probably none to the extent of what Blades Rod Shop stands for. We're a self-contained, established unit that we don't outsource anything here. Everything is done inside. So you're an intricate part of those procedures. The biggest thing is to make sure that you hit those goals, because if the body shop's delayed by 2 weeks, then it delays the trim shop, which ultimately delays the final assembly of these cars. So there are going to be times when you're going to be expected to stay. So make sure that you understand that. Currently there's, how many builds? I think 9 builds underway right now. okay? Of which the majority of them are between a 40 and 70% completion at this point in time. So right now you're going to be asked, especially the trim shop, I believe we have what we identify, 6 cars that are going to be going through the trim shop in the next 4 weeks. I know that sounds... Yes. So you're already behind the 8 ball. So no, actually, what we're going to do is start off slow and let you kind of build up a little bit. And again, you need to find that chemistry to be able to work together. That is probably the most important part, probably the most important factor that you're going to try to accomplish in the next 2 weeks, is to build some camaraderie and some teamwork within your own departments. So make sure that you understand that. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Smile. It ain't that bad. What's up, guys? Now that is a toolbox. Okay, obviously you can look around. The office is there. Nobody's allowed in the office. I'm just kidding. Paint booth. As you see, the facility, actually, we can produce decent cars out of here. I know it doesn't look all that great, but the bottom line is that it is a body shop and it is what it is. So right now, as you can see, this project right here, this 36 panel truck is underway, and there's 2 projects sitting back there. There's a 37 panel sedan delivery and a 29 pickup. Most important part is to make sure that if you have any questions, you're going to learn from 2 of the best, okay? And I'm serious about that. These guys have done this long enough to know what the heck's going on, so you definitely learn from them. You guys see this? This whole floor in here is all wood. That's what holds this body together. Nothing but wood, okay? So there's support beams that go in here, and then all this decking goes across the top, and the whole bottom of the floor is made from wood. Look, this is a 36, that 37 panel, it's in the back, or sedan delivery, it's in the back, is the same identical way. Up until through the 40s, that's the way they did these. They're all made out of wood. If you ever take the time to sit down and read about anybody, read about Henry Ford. It'll teach you a lot of stuff. Teaches you a lot of how they built these cars. It's really amazing, really amazing. Metal, wood, and rubber. That's how these cars were put together. Okay, gentlemen, get something done today.
Yes, sir. We're on it.
We're on it. This, get everybody in here. Where's the camera? This area over here is going to be the woody shop. Okay. We're talking about putting a wall up here eventually, but right now this will be the wood shop, and this is going to be the trim shop. Okay. This will be the trim area here. Hopefully we can get 2 cars in, not hopefully, we'll get 2 cars in here, working on 2 cars at the same time, okay? This is kind of our utility room. As you can see, we use it as part showroom and part cleanup production area type of deal. Showroom, obviously. You can access both buildings through these doors. The way this is set up in each project manager has a fabricator and an apprentice. So there's actually 3 cars going on at the same time for each team, okay? And what ends up happening is you know, if they run out of stuff to do on this car here, waiting for parts, they'll end up going to the next car. So they kind of work all 3 cars at the same time. Each team has a total build, okay, which is a custom build. One which is like a partial restoration, like this car here is actually a restoration, okay? Primarily stock, But what it ends up having on there is just the little toys, you know, souped up flathead, and you know, it'll have a 12-volt system put in it, disc brakes put on it. So it's a traditional hot rod versus an actual custom built. And then what we'll end up having for the third vehicle is a, you know, a repair. Let's say that it's got a, you know, timing chain issue or whatever, needs a new timing chain. Those things will end up being done just, you know, periodically. Okay, y'all come on in here. This is the speed shop. Come on, folks, I'll take you down to one of the storage facilities. Okay, this is one of our storage facilities. As you can see, the parts are on the second floor, and what they're listed by is by project. So if we have a project build that's going on down there and we don't need all the parts, what they're doing, they're actually in sections. Okay, listed there. Here's just some of the builds that we have that are getting ready to come into the shop right now, or are at a stage that can actually be brought up and worked on very quickly. For instance, that convertible over there, the tan convertible, it's about 90% complete. All it needs is just some subtle restoration stuff done on it, and it's actually going to be ready to be sold. Pretty cool stuff. Which one? Which one? This one? That one? Oh, the gold one? Yeah. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you a little interesting story about that. That was actually bought out of Virginia. That was a bootlegging truck, and it was seized in a government SWAT or sting operation. So. But you need to understand, we don't just limit it to just street rods. I mean, it's any hot rod, whether it be, you know, it's an import, whether, yeah. So we're not limited to any one vehicle or any, you know, any one style vehicle. A hot rod's a hot rod in my eyes. As long as it's got four wheels and it goes fast, it's a hot rod. Morning, folks. We're here at the SEMA show on day 4. I'm standing with Jerry Kennedy from NSRA. Jerry's the special events director, and welcome this morning, Jerry.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Last year you had a couple new events.
We did. Prior, up until 1979, actually, the National Street Rod Association had two divisions, Street Rod Division, Street Machine Van Division. In 1980, we went to pure street rods. Last year, we put two more new events back on the schedule for the National Street Rod Association, whereas we've got a 30-year sliding scale. So these cars this year will be 1977 and newer, and older, excuse me, at both of these two events.
Good.
So we're excited about it.
Good. Where's the events at?
We have one in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's going to be held in July, the second weekend of July, and the second event is in Richmond, Virginia.
Well, good. Well, hopefully you all join Jerry and his folks down at these events. And what else is planned for the East Coast?
We have, of course, the 34th annual NSRA Street Rod Nationals East, which is the biggest event on the East Coast. We also have Burlington, Vermont, which is our northeast, extreme northeast regional event. And then, of course, the granddaddy of them all, too, the Street Rod Nationals will be held in Louisville, Kentucky again this year. And we look to exceed over 12,000 cars at that event, which is strictly pre-48.
Well, we were all there last year. You should join it because I tell you what, it is one hell of a show. What I wanted to do today is kind of sit down and go through a couple of things. Obviously, with all of you guys being the project managers, it's important that you guys, we get you focused first before we can move on with everybody else. We're going to talk a little bit about project management, the concept of it, and how to implement it. And then we need to talk about, obviously, the outstanding projects that are sitting there. Because we're not starting from square one on a lot of these projects, most of them are through a half build, or they're through various stages, and they're just sitting in various stages of completion. We need to really identify and get our handle around what's out there, number one, and then number two is then to come up with a system going forward. Okay, so to go through this full build to start, you'll see number one being the concept phase. To be able to identify the projects to be built, discuss the build options, discuss project goals, identify obstacles, create a theme, and choose a project manager and fabricator. And for each build that we go through, we're going to do this exercise. So what we'll do is meet weekly, and you'll notice that there is time allotted towards the end of the project for identifying where there may be been some problems throughout the build itself, and be able to deal with those issues at the end of the project. This is the way we'll attack projects from today going into the future. We need to follow this format so that we, number one, have an organization on the project itself, and then number two is an actual, not only a time chart of when things should be completed by, but what things should be completed on the car itself. So that, for instance, if you have let's say a restoration versus a complete build, you'll know exactly what needs to be done to this car. With a full build, you'll nut and bolt it all the way down to the frame, whereas a restoration may be certain variations of, maybe, let's say the interior needs done. Let's say 2 of the 4 fenders need to be repaired, or whatever the case may be. And this should help give you that outline, okay?
Oh, life could be a dream if I could take you up in paradise up above. If you would tell me I'm the only one that you love, life could be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again, shaboom, and hoping we'll meet again. Oh, life could be a dream if only all my precious plans would come true. If you would let me spend my whole life loving you, life could be a dream, sweetheart.